Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. I don't think they have a choice. They thought they were going to outweight me. We'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. With Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't.
President Trump speaking during his 12th cabinet meeting of his second term, accusing Iran of trying to run down the clock on a deal before November's midterms. Overnight, U.S. forces carrying out another round of self-defense strikes in Iran, intercepting 4 Iranian attack drones near the Strait of Hormuz and striking a nearby drone control station. Iran reportedly was about to launch a 5th drone from that station in Bandar Abbas before the military stopped it. I want to bring in former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor KT McFarland. KT, where are we right now with the Iranians, in your opinion?
Just watching President Trump answering questions to the press, this is what he's really good at. This is art of the deal. This is like scrambling the head game with Iran. He knows he can wait him out. They think that they've got him in a really tough position because he's got the midterms coming. But in President Trump's mind, what he's just done is he's seen a huge election victory on Tuesday. And so he knows he's got a little bit longer he can go. And every day this goes on, what happens in Iran? No income. They're not paying their military. They're having massive unemployment, massive inflation, devaluation of their currency. At some point, they've got to face the reality that they can't go on like this.
You think the people rise up again, KT? Is that possible?
Here's what's really interesting. So the regime turned the internet back on, or supposedly is turning it on partially this week. That's a huge admission of defeat. Why? Because they always in previous conflicts have turned the internet on so Iranian people can't talk to each other. They can't mobilize. They can't organize. They've also turned it off because the world can't see what the Iranian regime is doing to the protesters. The violations, the murders, the executions. But now they've had to turn it back on. Why? Because it is such a huge hit to the Iranian economy to have no internet. Because that means no banking, no commerce, no e-commerce, nothing's moving. It's costing them billions to keep it shut down. So I think that's a sign that they're getting more and more desperate. Meanwhile, there's President Trump saying, maybe we'll have a good deal. If we don't have a good deal, we'll have no deal. Then the guy to my left, pointing to the Secretary of War, he'll have to finish the job. So I think it is just vintage Donald Trump doing a head game against the Iranian regime.
Well, no, and I think even the British might be helping us out. I want to ask you about this because the Wall Street Journal was reporting that European leaders are beginning to fear that Russia is going to expand its war on Ukraine. Here's what they write in the journal. Several European national security officials have warned that Russia could try to test the cohesion of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, by targeting one of the Baltic nations, Swedish and Danish islands in the Baltic Sea, or alliance territory in the Arctic. KT, what do you make of this reporting?
I think the Russians don't have a lot of excess capacity right now. They're pretty tied down in Ukraine. So the idea that they're going to somehow start World War III with NATO countries, which the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and those are the Baltic states that they're talking about, that somehow Russia's going to invade them or have military action against them, I don't think that's very realistic. But hopefully what it does is convince our European allies, get off the dime, start spending money, start cooperating on your own self-defense, because the United States is not going to defend you forever. You've got to start doing some heavy lifting on your own.
Yeah, well, in the New York Post, I want to follow up on this because the New York Post is also reporting that the United States wants to reduce the number of bombers, fighter jets, and warships that are available to our NATO allies by 1/3. And the U.S. Navy also adding it would no longer provide nuclear submarines to NATO, KT. So does that kind of signal to you that there's change afoot with our relationship with them?
Yeah, I think that the change was coming even before the Iran situation and the Europeans' unwillingness to cooperate with us or even to let American aircraft, stop at American-built bases in NATO countries. So I think that was already in the works, and President Trump is just shaking them up. It's telling them, hurry up, get get smart about this. Start contributing to NATO. Start cooperating with the United States. Start helping us in Iran. We don't need their help for any of it, but that they should start considering their own self-defense instead of just complaining and telling us to do all the heavy lifting.
Before you go, KT, I got to ask you about this. The Pentagon is beginning to position American troops and weapon systems needed for a potential invasion into Cuba. The Navy is said to be building up assets surrounding Cuba. Do you think that we're looking at a potential invasion of Cuba, KT?
Here's the thing. I work for President Trump, so I'm every single day in the Oval Office and in the Situation Room. He likes options. So what is he doing right now with Cuba? Cuba's definitely next on their foreign policy list. But how would they do it? Well, he's giving himself options in the region. He's got a new carrier strike group. The Nimitz is there with some other ships. What could that ship do? It could be anything. It could be a Maduro-like snatch of the senior Cuban leadership if they refuse to cooperate with any future relationships with the United States or any reform. He's also got him there potentially as the first part of a larger American military presence. But again, he wants his options, and he's getting his options, and Cuba's next.
I'm so glad that you were able to comment on that. I know Cuba is something you and I have talked about so many times. KT McFarland, always a pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, KT McFarland, we'll be right back, everybody.